Guys, how you going?
Welcome back.
Yeah, happy Thursday. Round three? We're
Three.
up to our third one. Damn, that's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Third meditation, third live in a row.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks for being here again for everyone who's joining us.
Yeah, thanks guys. Lovely to have you back.
We'll just take a quick moment as people trickle in.
Hey Elliot, thanks for jumping on board, man.
Hey dude. Get yourselves comfortable. If you've got the TV on, switch that off.
Yeah, all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, get your space nice and quiet. And then
Hey Ash, how you doing? Thanks for
Hey,
jumping
Ash.
in.
And
Thanks for
what
jumping
we
in.
are going to do is we're pretty quickly. Okay.
All right, cool. Hopefully that's better and
Sorry guys.
hopefully you can still hear us. I'm actually just going to check on my phone to make sure that
No, I
it's
think.
still... Yeah, cool. That's still working. Sweet. Awesome.
Just if anyone in the chat lets us know if there's any issues with the sound on their end, but we're good back here now.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ash. Wicked.
Cool. All right. So with technical glitch out of the way, let's jump into it. So we're gonna sit. We're gonna do our first meditation again, and then we'll get into today. Our conversation is about trust.
Awesome. Hi, Prue, by the way. Nice to have you on board again. So we're going to jump straight into our meditation. There's going to be a starting bell and a finishing bell, 7 minutes, as per the previous ones. I guess get yourselves nice and comfy, and we'll jump into it.
And maybe if there's anyone there who's on the MMT page, if you want to just put a note in quickly for anyone who turns up late and let them know. Let them know how long we're going to be. Let them know what's happening, just so they're not confused as they jump in. We'd appreciate that as well.
Thanks, man. That's a good one. All right, guys.
So how long are we sitting for?
7 minutes.
Cool.
We'll see you very shortly.
All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. All right, let me just bring up the chat again.
Cool. So, as we come back into ourselves, back into the room, back to awake, let's talk about trust.
Hey, Ritesh, by the way.
Hey, Ritesh. Great to have you with us again.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So we have two sides to trust that we're going to really sort of like talk about today. We wanted to break it down into these two areas. And to get us started, I want to sort of try and tell a little story. And so what I want you all to do, and maybe some of you might even want to close your eyes as you do this, is imagine yourself standing on a path. This is a path, and it's like a dirt road, and on either side there's lots of green, some trees, there's the grass, sun's shining, beautiful blue sky. And we're going to be on this path for a while, probably most of us 70 to 80 years. This path is kind of, let's say it's representing our life. And in this simplified version of our journey down this path of our life, we've got a backpack on as well. It's full of tools, it's got food in there, it's got maps, all the stuff that we need. And what I first want you to imagine is walking down that path, and as you walk down, you're feeling that you trust, and that you trust yourself. So your mind, your body, as well as this process, this journey that you're on. So like you're trusting that the journey itself is worthwhile, that it feels good, and that your body won't let you down, and your mind can do what it needs. And there's challenges coming, but you have what you need to overcome it. And Jack, maybe you can tell me how you're feeling as you're feeling this trust.
Pretty solid, actually.
Solid, nice. I like that word. Terrific. And so now I want you to imagine that trust in yourself, in any of those, of either your body, your mind, or that trust in the journey. Take that away, pull that away. If you don't trust any of those three things, how does it start to feel?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's I guess, like, kind of, wow, I can't even speak. Going there. Kind of shaky, I guess.
Shaky?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, to be, like, super cliche.
Yeah.
Yeah, shaky is the first word that kind of comes to mind.
Cliches are often cliches.
I didn't trust that, you know? So, yeah.
Cliches for a reason. So, this encompasses this first type of trust. Like, let's call it like an internal trust. It's trusting in ourselves, in our journey, in our process. And when we have it, we feel strong. And when we don't, we start to feel shaky. And so this is our first one. And now let's look at the second one. So we're going to take our mind away from our internal sense of trust, and we're going to have a look at our backpack. So you can open it up and take a look, and you've got all sorts of tools in there. You might have flashlights, and there's some food. You've got a map. It's telling you where to go. And you can take these out, have a look, put them on your back, and we can walk down the road with them. And with each of these tools, our relationship with them is maybe going to be a little bit different, because let's say you're hungry and you take your pack off and you open it up and have a look inside, and there's a piece of fruit that's been in your pack for ages and now it's rotten. And now if you trust in that and have full trust in it, that's not going to work out very well because it's rotten. How does it taste? Probably doesn't taste great. And so with these external things, we want to look at them objectively and get a clear sense of them to work out what can we trust, what can't we. Two apples sitting there, one is rotten, one is fresh and delicious. Which one do we pick?
Yeah, just because you're carrying them both, you're not going to eat them both.
Exactly. And maybe there's two knives in the backpack. Maybe one's your favourite knife that you've had since you were a kid. Maybe it's blunt and it doesn't work anymore. Or maybe there's a new knife that is sharp and works beautifully. And so then this is the one to put your trust in, because that's a much more useful tool. And so what I'm trying to get at with this is we're looking now at tools and tools, ideas, maybe people, right? Maybe we've met someone new and it's a new relationship. and we're trying to work out what we can trust, put our trust in, and what we can't. And if we don't trust anything, well, we've got nothing in our backpack, right? And that's going to be really bad. But if we trust everything, then maybe we're going to end up making some bad decisions. Maybe we listen to someone who sends us down a bad path and we get awfully lost and we get hurt.
Or at the very least, your pack is just heavier than it needs to be, right? You're carrying around, you might be carrying around stuff that you don't need anymore. Maybe you've already, like, it's past its usefulness. Like the apple, if you just keep or the blunt knife. If you just keep everything, even when it doesn't serve you anymore, or it's like not serving any useful purpose, then it's kind of just weighing you down. So you got to trust in knowing when to let it go.
Exactly. And so this is our second type of trust, and we'll flesh this out a bit more, but we're looking at external things, which is where we need a much more selective version of trust. And so now that probably takes us to the end of this little story. But Jack,
that's cool, man. I like it a lot.
Terrific, thank you. If you want to take it from there, if there's anything that comes to your mind in terms of how you want to flesh these ideas out a little bit more.
Yeah, man, I'm just going to give you the live chat, so just keep an eye on that for us, just in case any of you guys have anything to add or any comments or questions. So I think like where I want to kind of start with that is, I guess like on a like kind of like fundamentals of meditation level. One of the things I noticed when I was first starting out using this tool, which is a tool that's pretty much always useful, by the way. I should probably just caveat that after I talk about tools. One of the things I noticed was sometimes I would feel like I find, even now, right? Like sometimes I find it easier to meditate sitting on the ground. Sometimes I find it easier to meditate sitting. Sometimes I find it easier to meditate lying down. And like all of those are like totally okay. But what I've had to learn to do is trust my body to know when to do what kind. Even for walking meditations and things like that, knowing when that's the thing, and just trusting my sense that that's the right thing to do at the right time. That has been a really interesting process, particularly with lying down, because a lot of the time, particularly when I was starting out, and even now it happens sometimes as well, but when I started, every time I did a lying down meditation, I would fall asleep quite quickly, well before the timer went off, or sometimes I would wake up to the timer and sometimes I would not. But what I something that I kind of learned in that process was that, for starters, I was learning to trust the process, but it was also my body is telling me that one of these positions is the right one for a reason. And if I'm falling asleep, for example, while I'm meditating, that probably means that I need to sleep more. Learning to trust, and it's just learning to trust that communication from your body, right? I guess even I guess I'm even thinking of things like being hungry. Sometimes I would get senses I just eat now because it's what I do. But sometimes that's actually sometimes I'm actually not hungry, and I've had to learn to trust my body to tell me when it's actually hungry and when it needs fuel, when it needs food. And being able to do that has when I started doing that, I think I lost. Oh man, I must have lost just doing that. I think I lost about somewhere between 10 and 20 kilos in about a month or two.
Wow.
Just doing that. It was insane. It took a lot of concentration to begin with, because learning to differentiate between also trusting my body trusting myself to stop when I'm not hungry anymore. It's crazy. It's all helped by meditation practice and being more in tune. But yeah, it was nuts. Made huge difference. Learning to trust my body, learning to trust my process, and ultimately learning to trust myself. And an interesting idea that comes to my mind as you talk about that. It's you did have trust in the idea that you had to eat at certain times every day, right? Yeah.
So this is an example of this external trust. It's I'm trusting what I've always trusted, which is that I need to eat every day at lunchtime and eat every day at dinner. Whereas instead, by shifting, by shifting that focus internally to paying attention to what your body's actually telling you, and then trusting in that and saying, actually, my body is giving me a different signal. If I trust this rather than the idea that I've been holding for so long, if I take that out of my backpack and just toss it away, lost weight,
totally
happier, greater well-being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Change.
And I'll actually caveat that with as well, because that's like just to like make sure I'm making the distinction clear. That was like a healthy weight loss. That was all like visceral fat, which is not good, right? Like that was just fat that like I went to see a nutritionist, and the whole like body map thing was awesome. But I went from literally went from like a visceral fat rating of like 6 or 7 to a visceral fat rating of 1, which is crazy. Like means that, and that's just like how much fat buildup is around each of your organs. Ideally, you don't want much. You want it to be like as low as possible. You want it like distributed evenly across your body, but not like. It was fascinating. Really, really fascinating.
Cool. Terrific.
Yeah, like you say, that was learning to trust like what's going on the inside, rather than like, oh, I've always done things this way, so I'm just going to keep doing them this way. Not necessarily helpful.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, not saying there's not value there, but
yeah, cool, terrific. And so carrying on from there, I suppose there's a couple of ideas that you've brought up there that are interesting. One is this, tuning in, right? And this is a big part of what we're doing with meditation, right? We're particularly mindfulness meditation. Obviously, is one where this is particularly relevant because we're bringing our awareness into the sensations that we feel in our bodies. So that helps us to tune in to these sensations that we feel, so that we can accurately start to trust. Because this sense of trust in ourselves, if we're not in touch with ourselves, then how do you know what to trust? I can't trust something I can't see, and if I can't feel the sensations in my body and my mind is running, then it's really difficult for me to trust in myself. And so I think this is a really important way in which one of the ways in which meditation helps us with this process of building this greater sense of trust in ourselves, this internal trust.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And an interesting point that you brought up before off camera was this idea of like, I guess like on like a slightly deeper level, almost like questioning the things that you believe intrinsically about the world. Like why do you do the things you do? And what practices like this allow for and actually facilitate is kind of like getting in touch with that. Because there's often a lot of things that we're doing. Like I'm super, super guilty of this. Just doing things a particular way because we either think that's the way that we are supposed to, or that's just the way we've always done it. And the funny thing about the mind and about the brain is it's really like its function primarily is to keep you alive. So it's pretty much like, so the way a lot of it kind of tends to go sometimes is like, oh, I did that thing and it didn't kill me. That means it's good. Which is not like yeah, cool, you're still alive, great, but that's not that's not necessarily all there is to it. There may be like way better ways of meeting that same kind of outcome. It's like, there might just be way better ways of doing that thing or getting what you're after from that. Yeah,
exactly. And with this, we're talking a lot, starting to talk about our external, where we're putting our trust in external sources, right? Our beliefs and things like that. And if we look at bringing that back to meditation again, I think that a lot of this for me comes around to now, whereas before with this internal sense of trust, it's really about this awareness and starting to bring a greater awareness to what we're experiencing. But now when we're looking more externally at our beliefs and where we put our trust, it starts to become more about clarity, for me at least. And we have a lot of these beliefs that we've come and we've built for various different reasons, and sometimes it's just because your mum said so when you're little and you never thought to look at it again. And
love you, Mum.
Love you too, Mum. And one of the things that I find is amazing with meditation is that what it allows us to do is it allows us to get out of the habitual sort of thought patterns and views that we sort of traditionally have about things, and get new perspective. And I don't know if I can quite explain why. Sometimes I still don't understand it, but there seems to be sometimes it just seems that there's something about when you sit still and give your mind space, you know, you just actually allow it to do its thing. It's unfortunately a bit uncomfortable sometimes, which I think is why we often push back against it. Certainly especially when it's new. Then it starts to actually just break things down and look at it with different ways, and all of a sudden you go, oh, this thing that I always thought was serving me well, actually I'm starting to get a different perspective, and I'm thinking more clearly now, and I'm now starting to see that that's not necessarily the case, you know? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I hope that makes sense to you guys as well. Let us know if that doesn't, because one of the really amazing things. By the way, you're welcome, Cruz. Thanks very much for your support. One of the kind of the culmination of this and the point of learning to trust in your body, learning to trust in yourself, and also questioning the way that you've always done things, questioning your beliefs, questioning why you do things the way you do. It's because ultimately that is and I think this is the word that you used when we were talking about this before, is that's how you empower yourself. Ultimately, empowerment is the result of this kind of practice, because it gives you the freedom to choose what you do and why you do it. Because you could there's no real way around being influenced by the world. That's we live in it, right? That's just the way it is. There's also no way around being influenced by other people because we interact with each other. But there's also no way around in the fact that you're also influencing people, right? Because that's also happening. But ideally, you want to be doing that from a place of, like you were just saying, of clarity. And from a place of empowerment, so that if there is something that is not helpful or is not useful, you're not just giving someone else a broken tool. You're actually giving them, every time you interact with them, you can give them things that will build them up and make them feel better and may help them to live better, happier, healthier lives. It has an amazing ripple effect that flows out from you super, super quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't always get to see the exact results of that, but it is it's something you can trust is happening as you continue to do this.
And I think actually that does kind of bring it to, I suppose, this is one last aspect where I feel like trust is quite a relevant topic for anyone who's new to meditation, right? Because it's about, as you said, sometimes you can't always see the benefits that you're getting out of it. But especially early on, it is a process of trusting that there is value, because with time, it becomes clear. And my experience when I first started meditating was it took a few weeks of meditating every day. And I was and I remember just thinking, I think I feel just a tiny little bit clearer. And it was just, and I remember, I don't know if this is actually real. I might be making this up. And this was after maybe 3 weeks of doing meditating for, I think it was either 5 or 10 minutes every day. 3 weeks, 10 minutes every day. And I thought, maybe, or maybe I'm crazy. And then after 6 weeks, I was I think there's something to this. And then after 6 months, I was there is something to this. And now we're about 7 years in, and there is really, really something to this, and I'm talking about it on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
For a reason.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that. And I think it's one of those things that, because it can be quite subtle, and because it's quite it can be I guess almost a bit of a slow burn or a slow build. It's one of those things that you get those little oh, I feel like this might be working. Feel like this might be doing something. If this is a practice that you've been doing for a while, or a practice that you are just starting out on, once you've been doing it for a little while, if you feel like you're not try at least 3 weeks, then try going for just one day without it and see what happens. because that's one of the really interesting things. Like I have not had like heaps of time to meditate this week, and it's something I noticed massively. I noticed it like I noticed it like within 24 hours if I haven't done anything. I just feel I kind of like everything kind of like flatlines, but not in a good way. Like I find like like everything just like the whole world just feels heavier. Everything seems like it requires more effort. My mind feels clouded and cluttered. Everything just it feels like walking through like life is walking through a swamp all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then like I'll sit down for like literally 2 to 5 minutes. That's normally all it takes, and boom, straight back.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Just feels so much lighter so quickly. But yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to experiment with that because that'll probably just happen as you go, as you go anyway.
Days off will always come along.
Yeah, but those days will be the ones that really highlight how important the practice is and how much you're actually getting out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Do you have anything else that you want to say? Shall we get into our second meditation?
Yeah, no, I feel like that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. Just quickly make sure we don't have any other questions or anything like that.
I suppose as Jack's looking, I guess the only thought that comes to my mind is like, as you're saying, like, as we're saying, like, it takes a bit of trust to, to put in the time and put in that effort to find out whether it's worth it. But meditation it's like a beautiful, sharp knife. It works wonderfully. It's one that stays sharp usually as well, unlike a real knife. And it just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of trust to put it in, to get enough of a feel for it and start to know it well enough to really learn that like this is a trustworthy knife, the kind of knife that you want to carry with you like everywhere you go. For good uses, not to hurt people.
Of course.
No,
of course.
Don't. Meditation's not good for that. However, anyway, I think that's enough from me.
Awesome. No, I love it, man. Thank you very much. Like you've like spoken to so many like really, really, really interesting points. And this is such a this is such a core concept to meditation that we've been discussing here in Trust. And and hopefully you guys are getting quite a bit out of this. And it's like starting to sink in, and those kinds of things. You're so welcome, by the way, Ash. So with all of that said, you might like to start like getting a little bit comfy, maybe like relaxing your shoulders and things like that, settling into your seat or where you're lying down, and just maybe like even beginning to close down your eyes, starting to like bring your attention inside. Letting your breath begin to deepen. Relaxing your jaw, your eyes. Let your shoulders drop. Your legs grow heavy, and feel your belly move with your breath as you slowly and gently bring your attention all the way down on the inside. And maybe you'll be aware of sounds around you, and that's okay. You can just trust that that noticing them actually means that they can be stones on this path that you're following as you continue to follow it even deeper down on the inside. And I wonder how much of what I'm saying you'll, be paying close attention to, and how much of it you'll just be able to allow to unfold and flower. Just knowing that you need only accept anything that feels good and right and true, and that this story that I am about to tell you can just take your mind on a little holiday, if and only if it so desires. Because there's lots of things that we do every day in our lives. Lots of things that we do quite consciously, thinking about them as we do them. And there's lots of other things as well, probably even more things, actually. The science certainly shows that. Lots of things that we do without even really paying attention to them, that just kind of happen on autopilot. And of all of these things that we do every day, I imagine, and I hope, that most of them, or at least a lot of them, are really good things. Things that make you feel good, things that serve you well in the world, things that produce results that you like and enjoy. But I imagine there are also things, there would be of those things, certain ones that are maybe not so helpful, or the results of which are not quite what you would like them to be. And of those, maybe there's a particular one, a particular thing that you do that comes to mind, that maybe you feel like you would like it to be better, that you feel you would like to see a different result from. But the funny thing is, or even this particular thing, and all of those, those other things that are not quite working out the way you want them to, but this particular one in particular, I imagine that even though the results aren't what you would like them to be, there is, if you were to step back from it, take yourself out of it for a moment and really look at it, you might notice how there's a positive intention driving this thing. And that even though it's not working out the way you would like, there is in fact something good behind that you are trying to achieve for yourself. And I liken it to, you might just like to kind of imagine this as trying to reach a destination. Imagine perhaps going to work, right? Which you may or may not have to leave the house to do these days, but at the very least before. Or going somewhere else, like the shops, where you might go quite frequently. Imagine there's probably a particular way that you do that. particular way you get from point A to point B. And knowing that you can always go the way you've always gone, I wonder what it would be like to maybe explore other ways of getting there. Because, there are lots of ways of getting to that particular place, of meeting that intention. Like maybe rather than driving down the main street through all the traffic lights, perhaps sometimes it might be nice and maybe like just as easy, just as effective and just as efficient to take just a slightly different route. Like maybe you leave your house and go in the opposite direction, knowing that all of the roads will eventually lead you to the shops, or to work, or to wherever it is in particular that you're going. Or perhaps, as you start down the way you normally go, you might realise that as you check your map, your sat nav on your phone, you might notice that there are some roadworks, or that traffic is built up at certain times of day, and that taking a left turn where you might never have considered could actually prove at least as quick, at least as effective, and at least as efficient at getting you to your destination. And perhaps there's another time when you like to go to this place, where time is just not as much of a factor, but you would still like to get there easily, and effectively and efficiently. But it might be kind of nice. Say it's a particularly nice kind of day. The sun is shining, the birds are flying, the leaves are leaving. And you'd like to take a more scenic route, and actually going on the scenic route in itself can be quite fulfilling. To perhaps go through those back alleyways, and that need not be difficult or confusing, can just be easy and effective and efficient. And you may actually find that taking this route saves you time and energy and resources. So it's good to have a few ways of meeting these intentions, of getting to where we want to go. Because sometimes the tried and true way is not always the best way for us to go. But you can trust that you know where to go, and that you will reach your destination. And I wonder, as you look forward, casting all the way out to the next time you need to meet this positive intention, because it's a good intention, and it's nice to have good things. Just how easy it will be knowing that way you would like to go now. Knowing that all of the ways that you could choose are at least as easy, at least as effective, and at least as efficient at getting to that place. Because I trust and know that you deserve to have good things. And that this part of you that can come up with all these amazing alternatives can continue to do so if and when it needs to at any given time. And that the ways in which you come up with more and more innovative ways to meet these positive intentions that you have for yourself, that are at least as easy, at least as effective, and at least as efficient as the previous ones, will far exceed even my wildest expectations, and may surprise even you with just how good they can be as you continue to grow and expand and trust in your own inner resourcefulness. You can slowly bring yourself back now, bringing all of this with you, knowing that it's always there and accessible to you. Slowly bring yourself up and back into the room, only as fast as feels safe and comfortable and ecological to do so, knowing that there's no rush whatsoever. That you can take your time coming back into the room and opening your eyes. Trusting your own timing as you do so. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, probably good. Thank you.
My pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was my own little exercise in trust, actually. That was all totally off the cuff. I have no idea what I said, to be perfectly honest. I have no idea where I went with that. I just know that there was...
It was beautifully done.
Thanks, man.
Can confirm. From my perspective, at least.
Awesome. In my opinion. That's man. Thank you. But yeah, that's like, I don't know, it's fun, like, just trusting an intention. You know, it's really interesting what kind of happens with that. And I guess like in that, I might just slide another thing in at the end here. That's been a huge learning for me particularly over the last years, just learning to trust my intention, especially since working here with MMT, knowing that, you know, the work we do, like trusting that the work we do is effective, trusting in my ability to help, and trusting in my intention to, you know, help people alleviate, like become free of pain and those kinds of things. Trusting the intention and letting go of how that happens. It's like choosing a path and trusting that it will get you there.
Yeah.
You know, not having to like, oh, is that the right tree? Is that the right bush? As you follow the map there, just letting go of it and just enjoying the road. Really interesting in conversations as well. Rather than trying to like think of what you're going to say next while you're listening to the other person, just trusting you're just having the intention to connect with someone, and just trusting that you will know what to say, because you always know what to say. You don't need to plan it out beforehand. You can just trust yourself to do that, and your conversations and your interactions become so much better as a result.
Yeah.
Oh, Ash has sent us something.
Yeah, cool. Let's take a look.
Ash, amazing how you tune in and out. Still hear exactly what it is you need to hear. Awesome. Thanks, Scott and Jack. Awesome. Thanks, Ash. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
It's really fascinating how you can kind of tune in and out at the same time. Isn't it? It's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it's a real kind of way. I find myself grab a few words here and there, and then I'm off again.
Yeah. Thanks, Santiago, too. Nice to see you on here as well, brother.
Cool.
All right. Should we wrap it up, man?
Yeah, I think so.
Anything else you want to say? Thanks, Ninj. Thanks, Zach.
Cheers, guys. No, I think I feel pretty good. I think that just about does it from me.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. We trust that you're going to have a fantastic week.
Yeah.
And trust that you'll have an amazing sleep tonight.
Yeah.
You'll wake feeling rested.
Yeah.
And good.
Yeah, fantastic. We'll see you here next week, and good luck with maybe doing a little bit of meditation to anyone during the week as well. Maybe that's one last thing to throw in there. Yeah, we trust.
We trust that you're going to get at least 2 minutes of meditation in every day this week between now and next week.
Yeah.
All right.
So thanks, guys. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.
Thanks, guys.